Good morning, everyone. It's your boy, Simply Food by TY. So look, today, you guys, I'm going to be taking us back into the kitchen, of course, and I'm going to be showing you guys how to make your very own bread. Now, look, I know sometimes bread can seem really intimidating because you feel like you have to knead it, you feel like you have to have a KitchenAid and all these fancy utensils. You don't need any of that. The only thing that is kind of imperative that you have is a Dutch oven, but beyond that, you don't really need much else. It's a few ingredients. The longest thing you have to do is just be patient and let it rise for 4 hours. But beyond that, that truly is it. Anyone can make this recipe, I promise you, and your friends and your family will be shooketh when they realize that you have made your very own bread. So let's go into the kitchen so I can show you how to do it, honey.
Do I have your attention? 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 Do I have your attention?
Is you taking notes?
Okay, you guys, so let's start working on our yeast. So the first thing you're going to do is add 1 instant yeast fast active packet to 2 cups of warm water. You don't want it too cold and you definitely don't want it too hot. If the water's too hot, it will immediately kill off the yeast and your bread will not rise. So roughly around 110 to 115 is around the temperature that you want to see it at. But if you put your finger in it, feels warm, 9 times out of 10, you'll be just fine. And then you're going to sit that to the side. So what we have here is 4 cups of all-purpose white flour. We're adding in 1.5 tablespoons of salt. This is just the perfect amount of salt for this. Now what you want to do is you want to mix around that salt in the flour a little bit so that you're not pouring your yeast mixture directly onto the salt. You definitely don't want to do that because sometimes that can also kind of kill off the yeast. So this way it can kind of mix its way through. And then you want to make a little well in the center of your bowl. And then all we're going to do after that is literally pour your yeast mixture right into the center of your flour. You guys, that's all the ingredients. There's not much. There's not much else to this. It's so easy. But you see how I'm pointing out at the bottom of it, there's always some yeast that kind of gets left behind. I like to get a spoon and scrape out every single bit that you possibly can because you definitely don't want to leave any behind. Now, if you are one where you don't like your hands to be really, really messy. Well, first of all, I don't know why you're making bread, honey. But I do understand not wanting to have your hands completely covered in flour. If you want, you can use the back of a wooden spoon to just initially get mixed together. But be mindful, don't overmix this, you guys. This is a no kneading bread recipe. The second you start overmixing and, start folding it into each other way too much, you're going to end up with a really, really tough bread, and you do not want that. All we're simply looking for at the moment is for all of the flour to come combined together and to be pulling away from the sides of the bowl. So like I said, every now and then it might seem like you have way too much clunked up on your hands. Honey, do like I do. Get the back of a knife or a spoon or something and just scrape it off and just keep on pushing forward. It'll all come together and it won't be as sticky in a few moments. But right now, like I said, I'm just simply working on just trying to get all of the flour combined and off of the sides of the bowl. And again, be really mindful in this type of situation because this is a no-knead bread and because we're going to let this sit and rise for about 4 hours. You really want to be mindful that you are not over mixing because then you're going to end up with the bread that's kind of more so the texture of a bagel, and you don't want that. You want this to be light and fluffy and airy. This is kind of like your typical artesian white bread. That's what this bread will kind of come out like. If you ever go to your local grocery store and you go over by the meat department and they have those artesian breads, that's kind of what this bread is like. So it has a nice crust on the outside and then soft on the inside. So you want to wrap it with a towel, place it to the side for the initial first 2 hours in a nice dry place. I say the microwave is the best place to go because there's no draft that could come in. And then all you have to do is literally fold it into itself. Just work your way around the entire bowl, fold it into itself. That's it. No need to put your hands in it. No need to mix it up anymore. You've already done all that. And as you can see, this bread is all, like, the yeast is fully active at this point. It's completely sticking to each other. It's barely sticking to the spoon, which is all great signs. So once you do this, you're going to, of course, get that exact same towel that you were using before. Put that towel back over it. And literally put it back in the microwave. And when I say microwave, don't turn the microwave on, you guys. Put it somewhere where it's nice and dry, not too hot, not too cold, for another 2 hours. So that's 4 hours total that you've now let that rise. Get yourself a cutting board or a nice clean surface. Put some of the exact same flour that you used to mix it with. And then you're just going to turn it over onto your surface. Now, at this point, once again, we are not trying to knead this dough. All we're doing is putting it into the shape of, you know, like a ball, a round ball. We're not making ciabatta bread, so we don't want it in the shape of a rectangle. So what I'm doing right now is allowing that bread to soak up that flour that we've put on the cutting board. And that's kind of all you won't really need too much flour for this. This dough is pretty forgiving. And, you know, once it starts to set, you really don't have to worry about it sticking too much. And all I'm doing is pulling from the sides and tucking into itself. As you can see, pulling from the side, tucking into itself. If it seems like it's starting to get a bit too sticky, just sit it back down on that board, collect some more of the flour, pull from the side, and tuck into itself. That's all you have to do, you guys. That's your bread. There's not much else that you have to do now besides the next step, which is you're going to get yourself a glass bowl and you're going to put about 2 capfuls of olive oil. Don't use vegetable oil, use olive oil. And don't put too much. You always see people kind of just like throwing the olive oil in there, and then they put way too much, and then that's how you end up with burnt bread. You only need about 2 capfuls. That's it. It's honestly just enough to sit at the bottom, because at this point, the bread is not going to be sitting in the bowl for no more than 45 minutes at this point. I also like to put a light dusting of flour at the bottom. That also just kind of helps it from sticking when it does come time to remove it from the bowl. And then you're just going to simply place your dough inside of that bowl and then put your towel back on it. You can just leave it out on the counter at this point. Because what you're going to do now is you're going to allow your bread to sit in the bowl covered for the duration of the time that your Dutch oven pan needs to preheat. So have your oven preheated at 400 degrees, you guys. 400 degrees. You're going to put your Dutch oven in the oven for 45 minutes, okay? Which means when you take it out, it is going to be piping hot. So be very, very careful. But it is crucial that you allow this Dutch oven to get nice and hot. It will allow the bread to have a beautiful, beautiful crisp to the bottom, but nice and soft on the inside. So that pan's really hot, so just be careful of that. So right now I'm just putting on a light dusting of flour on the top and a light dusting on the bottom and throw it in the pan. Don't do anything else to it. Just throw it in the pan. Be nice and careful so you don't burn the sides of your hands. And then put the top on it. You're going to put it in the oven at the same temperature at 400 for 30 minutes. At that 30-minute mark, you guys take the top off, allow it to go for another 15 minutes, and you are going to end up with some beautiful, beautiful bread. And there you go, you guys. It was just that simple. This is such an easy dish for you guys to make. And I swear, there's no way in the world that you can fail making this. The only thing that's a requirement is the Dutch oven. And that's about it. Thank you guys so much for tuning in today. And as always, y'all babies stay cute and take care. Bye, guys.
Simply Food by TY.